Okay, guys, so in order to understand how to regain your rights as a sovereign being, guys, I first want you to answer the following questions, or I'm rather going to answer the following questions for you, right? The first question is, how and why the Khazarian mafia basically tricked humanity into becoming vessels which are lost at sea. Crazy, right? Why we all have a straw man and what it means to us. Why each of us have what we call a CQV trust. We also want to know what is a CQV trust and what it actually means to us. Let's answer that question. Let's dig down a little bit deeper and answer the question. So, how was humanity tricked into becoming a vessel, guys, which is lost at sea by the cabal or the deep state, right? So, guys, as you've obviously gathered from the first two videos, guys, the deep state, the Khazarian mafia, has facilitated numerous wars, guys, which resulted in a lot of national bankruptcies. So every time the Khazarian mafia aggregates a national bankruptcy due to the wars that they start, these bankruptcies then allow the Khazarian mafia to impose new draconian measures on humanity, which take away more and more and more of our rights and freedoms. So unless humanity, guys, agrees to these ridiculous terms in order to get the loans, the deep state refuses to loan the money. Guys, this then forces the countries who are in desperate need of financing to acquiesce and agree to all of these ridiculous terms and basically do as they're told. Well, the imposition of humanity's straw man and the creation of our CQV trust, guys, was no different. They did exactly the same thing, guys. So what I want to do is I just want to give you a little bit of background understanding around how they actually trapped us into creating our straw man, etc. So, as usual, the Khazarian mafia was up to their dirty tricks again. So when basically what they did, they forced the USA into forming the Federal Reserve Bank in 1913, right, due to that second bankruptcy all the way back in 1871. So at the time, guys, the Federal Reserve effectively won the right to create coin, or said differently, print money. So as the Khazarian mafia, guys, won the right to create coin on behalf of the USA, what they did was it allowed them to gain absolute control over money supply, not just in the US, but around the world. And as expected, guys, they leveraged this to their advantage as follows, right? So they created a set of perfect circumstances, guys, to both fuel and start the First World War in 1913. And as that war raged on, you can imagine countries around the world needed loads of cash to buy bombs, tanks, bullets, etc. The Khazarian mafia then gladly increased money supply between 1913 and 1918, guys, to facilitate the buying of bombs and tanks, etc. The increased money supply, guys, was however pretty short-lived, and come 1920, the Khazarian mafia, the deep state, started to dramatically reduce money supply. This orchestrated demonic plan worked perfectly for them. So by 1929, by reducing money supply, it resulted in the Great Depression. And as you know, guys, the Khazarian mafia never ever lets a good crisis, which more often than not they've actually created, go to waste. So from 1929 to 1933, guys, they used the captured presidency of Herbert Hoover to firstly drain the USA fiscus of gold. And once all the gold was stolen, the criminal President Hoover then basically signed an executive order forcing every American to surrender any gold that they had. And if they didn't, it was at a penalty of a $10,000 fine. So by 1933, guys, the Khazarian mafia had done a great job of both draining the USA fiscus, and they'd managed to steal all people's personal gold as well. Devious, right? So, guys, as there was no more gold left in 1933 to pay the debt due to the Khazarian mafia, they, with the help of the criminal President Hoover and a captured Congress, basically, then imposed one of the most devious constructs on humanity ever, namely birth certificates and birth registrations. So as the USA, guys, did not have any gold left to pay their debts, they were forced to offer their citizens as collateral to the Khazarian mafia. They had nothing else to offer. Guys, this led to the creation of your straw man. How did they do that, guys? They did it by manipulating humanity into losing their sovereign rights, guys. And how did they do it? They did it all in the shadows. Everything was done in a very devious fashion. So in order to serve as collateral, right, humans could no longer remain sovereign men and women as they were recognized under common law. they would from that moment on be required to become registered as corporations. And as crazy as this sounds, they would be viewed as vessels which are lost at sea. Crazy stuff, right? This devious move basically resulted in the formation of your Strawman and the creation of your CQV Trust, which is registered in the name of your vessel or Strawman, all written in capitalized letters. The CQV Trust, guys, was another devious move by the deep state to yet again pour more and more worthless fiat currency into the world economy too. So how did they do this, right? Well, between 1933 and 1975, the USA Treasury issued a bond against every single birth for the amount of $675,000. That money was to serve as the collateral against the loan given to the state. So in other words, you were worth $675,000. They also issued an insurance policy for $1 million against your early death or disability. Remember, if you can't work, guys, you have no value. However, since 1975, guys, this has increased to a $1 million bond and insurance of $2 million. This means that, guys, since 1975, every time a child is born, another $1 million created out of thin air is pumped into the economy. Let's have a look and explore what else they do with your CQV Trust. Guys, it's traded, right? Your CQV Trust is treated like a commodity, and as such, it's traded on a number of exchanges around the world. So as your CQV Trust continues to be traded and your value grows, in other words, as you become more educated, you become more productive, etc., at least the value of a CQV Trust increases too. I've explored and discovered that people's CQV Trusts, guys, can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars and in some cases even billions of dollars. So you're worth a fortune without even knowing it, right? You're a trust fund baby, right? So how did they manage to impose this fraudulent system on humanity? So from 1933 onwards, every time a child was born, the mother was fraudulently manipulated to ward her child to the state. This, as you can imagine, was done in a very devious, underhanded fashion. So when a child is born, it's viewed as a gift from God to the mother, and as such, it is then seen as a sovereign being and has inalienable rights, can't be revoked at all. Guys, this is where it gets crazy. The hospital staff then fraudulently manipulates the mother to register her baby with the state, which is masquerading as a corporation. And how do they do it? They do it by enticing and manipulating her to apply for an unnecessary birth certificate. So on the registration of the birth, guys, the mother receives the vessel's, because it's now a vessel, the vessel's birth certificate with all capitalized. Your name is all capitalized. So on receipt of the birth certificate, guys, the mother has unknowingly ordered her child to the state. So from the moment a birth certificate is issued, humans lose their sovereignty. Guys, why? Because they become wards of the state. Guys, this facilitates the principle of parens patriae, where the state becomes your parent. That's what parens patriae means. The state is the parent. I was actually born. My birth date was the 28th of November, and my vessel was fraudulently registered on the 7th of December. What this basically means is that I was a free sovereign being for only 9 days until my mother was fraudulently enticed to register my birth so that a birth, we spell it B-I-R-T-H, but it should be B-E-R-T-H certificate was issued. Let's now try and understand our CQV Trust and why it was formed, right? So, guys, as long as you fall under the construct of parens patriae, in other words, where the state is the parent, you have absolutely no rights at all. All you enjoy, basically, are temporary privileges which can be revoked by the state at any time. So, although you have a CQV Trust set up under the name of your vessel, your name in capital letters, which is viewed as dead and lost at sea, because you're viewed as dead and lost at sea, you cannot access any of the funds in your CQV Trust. You're viewed as a debtor. Your vessel is viewed as a debtor. So as your CQV Trust remains the property of the state, it serves as that collateral against the debt owed to the cabal. Remember, you are the collateral, your chattel, nothing more. The great news, guys, is that once you break the veil surrounding this crazy fraudulent system, you then can access your CQV trust and utilize the funds to pay any debts that you may have. These debts include debts that you have with banks, the legal and criminal revenue services, etc. You can use those funds. Guys, what I'll do is I will guide you step by step how to do this in a later video. But as a teaser, know that you are both the creditor and debtor in terms of your CQV trust. Your vessel is the debtor, in other words, that name that's not you, that dead vessel, which is all capitalized, is not you, and has no access to the trust, whilst your sovereign self is the creditor and has full access to the fund. So that's kind of how you're going to access it.